Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name's Brian, and today I'm going to be talking about the November bundle from the good folks at Imprint Films out of Australia, a sub-label of Via Vision Entertainment, and who, if you've been watching this channel, you know I'm a big fan of what they've been doing, and they continue to do great stuff, and this is a really nice round of movies. There's a couple here that have been released stateside by Scream Factory, actually, both of them. And so I'm going to do a little comparison so you can see if you need to upgrade, if you like these films a lot. Just always like to kind of, if I remember, let people know, like, this has much more stuff, you know, or whatever. But anyway, I'll start with the best of the bunch, and that is the Imprint version of Let's Scare Jessica to Death from 1971. Seminal paranoid horror film from the early 70s, and one of my favorites, and apparently one of Kim Newman's favorites. He professes in one of the features on this disc that it is his favorite film of all time. And yeah, I love Kim Newman, so I'll get to that in a second. But just a great, hesitate to use the word slow burn, but like, you know, this building story of this couple that comes to the countryside to get away from the city. And there's some indication that the woman, played by Zora Lampert, who's fantastic, may have had like a mental breakdown, and so they're sort of trying to get her to a place where she can recover and just live a much more low-key life. And it just, things start just creeping in, little unusual people show up. You know, this woman who had been, I guess, sort of living in their house, squatting in their house, is a little strange, and their hippie buddy is a little weary of some of the stuff that's happening, and it just slowly gets weirder and weirder. And I don't want to talk about where it goes, because if you haven't seen it, I really think that's one of the great things about it. But just a really fantastic horror film. And this slipcase edition has this cover, which I like very much, and then of course the year on the side and the number, and a little artwork on the inside. And yeah, I just love this film, and I highly recommend it. And I will say that in comparison to the Scream Factory Blu-ray, the Imprint version walks away with it. This is the one. As far as I know, the transfers are exactly the same. They look the same to me. But this disc has everything this has, which includes audio commentary with writer-director John Hancock and producer Bill Battalato, interview with the composer, interview with Kim Newman, and a location featurette. I'm pretty sure the location featurette is on here. Of course, I misspeak right out of the gate. I don't know. Actually, let's go through this. Oh, yeah. No, there it is. Okay. So, audio commentary with John Hancock, as you can see. And then the new commentaries we get here with Kat Ellinger, who we love here. A great track, not surprisingly. She's just like one of the perfect people to do this commentary. And then, of course, Kim Newman gets a track with film director Prano Bailey Bond. And they are a great duo, and their track is outstanding. I just love to hear Kim Newman speak at length about a film like this that he loves so much. So those two commentaries alone make it worth your while. But then you have that composer interview, the interview with Kim Newman, and the locations featurette. Well, I mean, so you're getting two more commentaries, and they're both great. So in my mind, that makes this the one. And so you can get this on Amazon or import CDs or from Imprint Direct if you want. But it is the one to get, in my opinion. Next up, we have one called the Medusa Touch. And this one I discovered just late last year as part of our Dogs of the Week episode of Pure Cinema, where we're kind of going through some films that Siskel and Ebert had highlighted as Dogs of the Week, movies they didn't care for. And this was, I think, one of Ebert's Dogs of the Year. Like, he really disliked this film, but I kind of loved it. And it's just a really sort of fun, weird movie about a guy played by Richard Burton who has some kind of psychic abilities. And, I don't want to get too far into it, but it's kind of like he can will things to happen and will people dead. And it's just, there's some great, like, I'm gonna kill you, basically, looks that he gives. And that are some of the best I'm gonna kill you looks ever given in any movie. And yeah, so it's just like, it starts as like this murder investigation, flashback narrative, and Lee Remick plays this psychologist that Richard Burton's character sort of got to know, and so she's sort of one of the key people that can talk about him. And yeah, he just goes into all these things he was planning to do, and there's a little bit of a Patrick-y thing happening here too, but like on a much more powerful scale. Don't want to say much more than that, but yeah, lots of crazy psychic, weirdness, events, and damage. And I really dug this movie. So this one is from 1978 and has, there's a few other Blu-rays of this, so I'm not sure how this transfer compares to those, but this definitely has the best compilation of features. Audio commentary with director Jack Gold and Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. Outstanding track. Again, I love Kim Newman, and I love that Imprint uses Kim Newman so regularly. So that is exciting. And then we have a audio commentary with film historian Lee Gambin and Kat Ellinger again. Excellent choice. The Welsh Wizard, Richard Burton on stage and screen, a video essay by Ian McNally. Very, very cool. I very much enjoy Richard Burton as an actor, and this period of his career is really interesting, and this essay obviously covers more than that, and it's very cool. The Designer's Touch, an interview with art director Peter Mullins, and behind the scenes, Destroying the Abbey. I'll leave that to a nebulous sort of explanation. I'm not going to really talk about it, what that's about. But so here's our cover. Very cool, like Dr. Medusa or something. I don't know. But I like that design very much. And, okay, so the Medusa Touch, definitely one that I became a huge fan of in 2021. Next up, we have Body Parts, the Eric Red film, starring the great Jeff Fahey. Man gets in accident. Man's arms and legs are replaced by those of a serial killer, and man begins to have trouble controlling arms and legs. And you know how this goes. If you are a horror fan, you've definitely heard of this or seen this film, and it's very solid. And this is a case where, again, Scream Factory put this one out, and as far as I can tell, I think these are identical except for maybe one actor interview. Let me just double check here. Okay, so this has audio commentary with Eric Red, new interviews with Red, actor Paul Ben Victor, and editor Anthony Redmond, deleted scenes with director commentary and trailer. And then this also has Eric Red commentary. Oh, this has the Lee Gambin commentary. Oh, actually, this is better. Sorry. Lee Gambin commentary, which is great. Interview with Eric Red, Anthony Redmond, Paul Ben Victor, and then that new actor interview is with Peter Murnick. And you get the deleted scene with commentary. So this is the definitive, and the transfer is the same as far as I can tell on this. So both the Scream editions of these two films are toppled by the Imprint editions. So that is fun. Let's see, what else can I do? I will do, yeah, okay. Stir of Echoes, Kevin Bacon film written and directed by David Koepp, based on a novel by the great Richard Matheson, one of my favorite writers. I Am Legend, one of my favorite novels of all time. And, of course, he wrote extensively for The Twilight Zone. He wrote Duel, Spielberg's film, and just an astonishing writer, one of Stephen King's favorite writers. And so this was a case where David Koepp was enjoying some success post-Jurassic Park, and he wanted to do something scary, and he came across this novel, I think in an airport or a bookstore. No, bookstore. And it was set in the 1950s, and it's sort of about this working-class guy who gets hypnotized at a party and then starts to connect to the underworld, the spirit world, starts to see dead people, well before Sixth Sense, well, at least 3 years before Sixth Sense, I want to say. No, I'm sorry, it's the same year as Sixth Sense. Oh, I remember now. Oh, yeah, okay. So it's 99, like Sixth Sense, okay? But this film was obviously conceived and finished before Sixth Sense ever came out. David Koepp had never, outside of knowing that there was maybe another supernatural movie in the works, he had no knowledge of The Sixth Sense. And there's a great interview with him on here. I want to say it's about 25 minutes or so. And he's talking about one of his reviews that he got early on, because his producers were like, he basically told them, look, I could have the movie done before this other movie comes out and we could release before it. And they're like, yeah, we're not really worried about it. And of course they were totally wrong. And The Sixth Sense was a phenomenon, and this movie kind of got lost in the shuffle after that. And one of the reviews he remembers reading said something like, it was basically talking about how quickly Hollywood capitalizes on the successes of other films. And he was just like, that's just so lazy, because it came out like 5 weeks after Sixth Sense. And he's like, what, you're thinking that I wrote, produced, directed, that the whole film got done in 5 weeks? This is not, not even Roger Corman could pull that off. You know what I mean? So it's just idiotic to say, that this film was ripping off The Sixth Sense. In some ways, I personally like it more. I know that's kind of blasphemous, and a lot of people love The Sixth Sense. There's some things about that one that there's some cheats in it for me that just bother me. And this, I just find to be really effectively scary. Like, there's just some great moments where Kevin Bacon is sitting on a couch or something, and he leans back. He leans forward to pick up a remote. He leans back, and there's a ghost on the couch with him, and it's just a great jump scare. And there's also some just wonderfully designed sequences. There's some good stuff where Koepp is talking about how he's good friends with Brian De Palma, and how Brian was asking him about, I want to say he said about the boo moments, meaning the jump scares, I guess, and how to, properly do those. And he has some great notes about how De Palma actually gave him some ideas for certain shots that he touches on in the commentary. And so De Palma is sort of a ghost helper, no pun intended, on this film. And I think it definitely shows. But like I said, it's just a very effective and scary story of a haunted man who is pulled into a mystery of some ghosts, not unlike The Changeling, if you've seen that film, and I think it's, for me, not quite as scary as The Changeling was when I first saw it, but I just feel like this one is still, because it was sort of lost in that shuffle after The Sixth Sense, a little bit forgotten, a little bit underseen these days. So if you're looking for a good scary movie, I think this is the one. This is really solid. Here's what the cover looks like. And so we have some old features on here. The audio commentary, I believe, is from the Artisan DVD. Interview with cast and crew and behind the scenes, scene comparisons, all that stuff. I think that's from the DVD. But this Flipping the Switch, directing Stir of Echoes, David Koepp interview is new, and that's very solid. Maggie's Memories Inside Stir of Echoes, an actress with Catherine Irby, also good. And Opening the Door, designing Stir of Echoes with production designer Nelson Coates, another great featurette, as well as these other ones, which I believe are all from the DVD. Sight of Spirits, Channeling the Paranormal, Behind the Echoes, The Mind's Eye, Beneath the Trance, Special Effects and Production Design. I think don't quote me on that. They could be new, but I'm not actually sure that those don't come from the DVD, because that 99 was the year, well, one of the years when they were still really pouring a lot of effort and energy into special edition DVDs, because the DVD was a very young format at that time. Really had just come into its own in 99, 98, 97, I think maybe was the earliest stuff. So I just feel like, again, this one I think has gotten a Blu-ray stateside, but I really, really appreciate this special edition and highly recommend it as a scary movie for you to check out. Next up, we have The Gift from 2000, the year after. This is by Sam Raimi, and a movie that is sort of about a fortune teller type, or sort of a she's a not a medium, but like she can see the future, and her own future has become cloudier than ever, and she can't really see what's happening, and she's threatened by a client's jealous husband and plagued by visions of a missing girl. This is actually an interesting double with Stir of Echoes, I think, ultimately. She's unwittingly pulled into a thicket of lies and deception in which her extraordinary gift could be used against her, and it's got a really stellar cast. I mean, as you can see there, you, of course, have Cate Blanchett, Giovanni Ribisi, Keanu Reeves, Katie Holmes, Greg Kinnear, Hilary Swank. It's a solid cast. This is another one that, and this one I don't know if it's had a Blu-ray to this date. Probably has. Probably I'm mistaken. But a very solid thriller. You know, Raimi made Simple Plan, and soon after that, I want to say Simple Plan is like 98. Could be wrong about that. And then he makes, which is not supernatural, but which is a great thriller. And this is then a thriller with some supernatural stuff. So it's before he goes into, full on returning to horror territory later after Spider-Man. This is just on the edge of that, just before he does Spider-Man. And it's a really solid supernatural thriller with a good cast. So if you haven't seen it in a while, especially if you're high on Keanu after The Matrix, he plays a really interesting character in this movie for sure. I'm not going to spoil. That says it all right there. But so this Blu-ray has an audio commentary, new commentary with film historians Nathaniel Thompson and Troy Howarth, a great duo and a great track. The Gift creating the score, interview with composer Christopher Young, that's brand new, and The Gift, a look inside featurette, I think is from the DVD, and then the 3 behind-the-scenes production featurettes are definitely from the DVD, and you get Sam Raimi interviewed there, a promotional short, promotional interviews with the cast. That's pretty standard EPK stuff, but still, 1080p transfer. I don't know if it's a new transfer. It looks fine to me, but, Raimi is a guy that I've loved for a long time, and this is a movie of his that I feel like slipped between Spider-Man and Simple Plan, and kind of doesn't really get talked about too much these days, and is well worth your time. So like I said, you could double that with Stir of Echoes. I actually think that could be a pretty cool double bill. Okay, next up we have a supernatural thriller from 1972. This is a very interesting one. It predates The Exorcist, and it stars Shirley MacLaine and Perry King. I guess it says introducing. I can't remember if this is actually his first role or not, but Shirley MacLaine plays a sort of well-to-do divorcee who lives on the Upper West Side, maybe East Side, I can't remember, of New York with her 2 kids, and she gets her life kind of upended when she gets a call about her brother, her younger brother, getting arrested after he attacked his landlord. And it's, he was so crazy in the attack that they actually commit him to Bellevue for, further observation or whatever. And she gets him out. She there's a lot of, for her sort of privilege that she's sort of dealing with. She's just very entitled in her way. And I think that's part of the, just part of the character and what the character's dealing with and how the character deals with this particular issue. And then we start to slowly see some creepy supernatural religious stuff creep into the sides and edges of the frames. There's one particular image of a hand with some markings on it that we start to see in different apartments, and then in Joel's apartment. And it's one of those things where it's an interesting performance by Perry King. He's a solid actor, and he has to slowly decline into being this possessed guy. He's possessed by a serial killer, effectively. And it's sort of a slow descent into madness / shift into complete psychosis. And it's creepy and effective. And it, didn't nearly make the splash that The Exorcist made, but there's an interesting bit, and this has got a commentary from Lee Gambin again, a very good commentary track. And he talks about having a conversation with, or talking to William Peter Blatty about the Chris MacNeil character, and the fact that Blatty based Chris MacNeil, who of course would be played by Ellen Burstyn in The Exorcist, on Shirley MacLaine. She's an actress in the film, in the book and in the film, and she's very much based on Shirley MacLaine. And so there is an interesting connection between this film and The Exorcist, which comes out just the next year and, of course, blows the doors off in every possible way. But this is another case like Stir of Echoes, which comes out after Sixth Sense. This is one that doesn't quite make the splash and doesn't get revisited as it kind of maybe should have post-Exorcist, because I think if this come out, the year after Exorcist, maybe it would have, gotten a little traction. And I feel like as it stands, it's sort of a forgotten film. And this may be another Blu-ray debut. I don't believe this one has been on Blu-ray. But it effectively unnerving, and a very interesting performance from Shirley MacLaine. I haven't seen too many like this. I haven't seen too many where she was in this kind of film. Like, I don't know that she did a lot of psychological thrillers or horror, tinged films, and she's very good and, makes the film that much more interesting. And Perry King, definitely works. Okay, so we have the audio commentary with film historian Lee Gambin, Fashionably Possessed, The Art of Frank L. Thompson. That's a video essay by film historian Elisa Rose. And then a wonderful video essay by film historian Chris O'Neill, who, of course, I've talked about before, has done stuff for Imprint. He's done stuff for Fun City Editions. That's where I first saw his work. And this is a really great essay. It's about 25 minutes, and it really delves into a lot of the themes and sort of underlying things that sort of poke out here and there throughout the film in terms of the character that Shirley MacLaine plays and where she's coming from and how she treats people, and then just other things about performances and supernatural elements and violence. And it's scenes from... Chris does his essays in a few different ways. Sometimes it's text on screen. Sometimes I think Chris himself does the essay voiceover. In this case, he has got a woman. I apologize, I don't know her name, but she is speaking the essay, and she's great. And so you just get a real wonderful overview of the film. Like I said, about 25 minutes, so a lengthy overview at that, for this video essay, and that's wonderful. And then Shirley MacLaine Kicking Up Her Heels documentary, a full documentary from 1994, all about her. And so this is a really nice addition to this film. And if you're into 70s, horror adjacent thrillers, and you haven't seen this one, I gotta say it's worth a try. Definitely worth a try. And a pretty unhinged performance by Perry King by the end, for sure. So that's Possession of Joel Delaney from 1972. Looks like that. And then we have, last but not least, this one's really interesting. Tamlin from 1970, but I want to say, 70, I guess. Also known as The Ballad of Tamlin, and apparently based upon the Celtic legend of Tamlin. A young man is bewitched by a beautiful, heartless, aging sorceress to become her lover. When his attention wanders to a lovely girl, he is doomed to ritual sacrifice by the sorceress. That sounds more Wicker Man-y than this movie really is. The film is interestingly couched in a sort of swinging 60s London, late 60s vibe, where you have basically this very wealthy woman played by Ava Gardner, who, may have some supernatural powers. It's not really heavy about that stuff. I mean, you could watch the whole movie and, you could get that stuff. You definitely get it, but I'm saying it's not very heavy-handed. Like, the front cover here makes this look sort of way more ritualistic than the film is, and I don't mind either take. Meaning, if it wanted to go Wicker Man with it or whatever, I'd be into that, but I actually kind of enjoyed what it is, which is more, like I said, like a bunch of hippie, youngsters, including a very young Ian McShane, hanging out with this woman who's incredibly wealthy and just kind of has like this great house in London, I think, and then they go to this getaway, almost like castle that she has in the middle of nowhere, and they're just kind of hanging out and throwing the frisbee and listening to music and drinking and, I don't know, sort of giving each other a hard time, and he, has fallen for her, but he's also kind of ready to move on. And as they've come out into this rural area, he meets a young girl, and they hit it off. And of course, that's always a problem when you've got this older woman that you're, with, and that she doesn't want to let you go. And then there's a great scene where, I don't know if I should spoil it. Yeah, I won't do it. But, needless to say, it does get pretty dark. And, my initial read on this was that it's the kind of film that, Liz Taylor could have maybe played this role, because she did some kind of out there kind of movies around the mid 60s and late 60s, Secret Ceremony and stuff like that. And this isn't quite as weird as like that. That movie's incredibly strange and kind of mesmerizing. This is just a little weird because it is, like I said, kind of swinging 60s with a vulnerable / angry older woman, and how she sort of deals with this rejection. And she does a really good job. So my initial read, like I said, kind of a Liz Taylor thing, but then I started thinking about it more, and I don't know. I don't know if Liz Taylor could quite have pulled this off. Not to say that she's not capable of it, but there's a vulnerability and this sweetness that turns really dark really fast, really angry really fast, that Ava Gardner does really well in this movie. And I think, I'm sure that Liz Taylor could do that. But I guess the sweetness isn't always something I think about when I think of her. And so anyway, another interesting tidbit about this, it is directed by actor Roddy McDowall, his one and only film outing as a director. Never made another movie, and this one, to hear him tell it, got a little bit lost. And, there's actually a really neat, there's a lot of great features on this disc, actually. One of them is the, what's it called? It's an interview with Roddy McDowall, basically, and it's from there it is. Legendary Ladies of the Silver Screen. Roddy McDowall remembers Ava Gardner and Tamlin. It's about 17 minutes. It appears to be from, I think, like an old either DVD or VHS release. The quality's fine. It's a 4x3 interview, gray-haired Roddy McDowall talking at length about, how much he speaks volumes about how great Ava Gardner was. Like, he clearly adored her and respected her greatly, and talked about how she was the only one who could have played this part, and he may be right. But it's really neat because it's him sort of talking about a bunch of films that were found, and that Martin Scorsese basically had seen Tamlin at 98 and decided to have it restored. And so Scorsese's a fan of the film, and it's a really neat, heartfelt interview with Roddy McDowall, just talking about Ava Gardner and this film, and maybe a few of the snags they hit with it, but just general, more an overview of her career and her grace as an actor. And he's just so delightful about it. It's really a sweet interview with him. So So you also get an audio commentary with journalist Dr. Adam Scovell. You get audio commentary with film historians Vic Pratt and Will Fowler. So you get 2 commentary tracks. I love that Imprint's doubling up on commentary tracks. That's just so great, you know? Like, they almost always have at least one. That seems to be something they're always doing, plus more. So The Mother, The Magus, and the Crone, a visual essay by Kat Ellinger, which is fantastic. Love You and Leave You for Dead, Ian McShane on Tamlin. So you actually get to hear his thoughts, and he's got some great insights to the film. An Eerie Tale to Tell, Stephanie Beacham. I think she's the girl that he meets. I just love that they talk to Ian McShane. It's just a great piece to have. The Devil's Coven, interview with actress Delilah Lindsay. These are all new. The Man of the Hour, interview with actor Kiefer Whistleberg, a.k.a. David Whitman. Occult Cuts, interview with first assistant editor Peter Boyle. And Ballad of a B Movie, revisiting Tamlin, interview with Roddy McDowell biographer David Del Valle, which is also great. So this is a really fantastic edition of a movie that I had never even heard of before this Blu-ray came out. And so, like I said, being that it's Roddy McDowell's sole directorial credit and a really great performance by Ava Gardner, and Ian McShane is excellent as well. And it's got that sort of creepy, culty, you know, witchy vibe to it, but on the real subtle, I think, at least until the back, you know, very back end. It starts to amp up there, but really an interesting movie. And I'm so glad an Imprint put this out. I don't believe this is available on Blu-ray previous to this, and I don't know if it ever got a DVD. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, this one really stood out as something I was just intrigued by. I just so fascinated to see. So Tamlin, aka The Ballad of Tamlin, that's the last of them. Just a great round of stuff from Imprint Films. And I do recommend them. I do recommend, you know, looking for their stuff. You can find them, like I said, on Amazon. You know, their discs tend to be a little bit pricey, in the $29 range or so. But, you know, you can find them on eBay occasionally and import CDs. And that sort of cuts down the cost factor a little bit. But like I said, I love this label, and they've got a lot of great stuff coming. They're already in December and January and February. I can't remember if they've announced their February titles yet. But there's always interesting stuff. There just hasn't been a round of titles they've announced that doesn't have like 2, 3, 4 releases that I'm not excited about. So I love talking about them, and I will continue to do so as long as I can. So thank you to Imprint Films for doing great work, and thank you all for watching. And let me know if you've seen any of these or if you're excited about them in the comments below. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.